Hey guys, it's Jeremiah here with Dad Projects, and today I'm going to show you how I take this neglected little jungle and turn it into this, a beautiful koi pond. So let's get started. So my in-laws have been wanting to clean this area up since they moved into this house about a year ago. Now there is a pond already installed, but it's been covered up and it's extremely dirty. The water's never been changed and these plants are just completely overgrown. I'm going to kick this off by pruning this bush. This is the only plant that I'm actually going to keep inside this garden. Everything else is going to be removed. Now I did prune a little bit too much off of it, and I'm really hoping it grows out, as it is a pretty nice looking plant. I started by pulling these weeds out by hand, but that got old real quick, so I pulled out a couple different trimmers and that made this job way easier. Now that I've got everything cut down, I could start removing the root systems. Some of these roots were really tough and the leaves were actually growing into the siding. There was a ton of rocks inside here. I don't really know where they came from, and some of them were just plain old concrete blocks. I'll be removing most of these. And for the ground cover, I'm just going to use my garden hoe to tear that up. Now it's time to remove all this water. It's pretty nasty, it's never been maintained, so we're gonna have to replace it all. I'm gonna pour it out into this 50-gallon drum. I don't know what this type of plant was, but the root system is super tough and I don't want it grown back. While I was working, I heard a couple noises coming from the barrel. I found 2 goldfish in there, and I've heard that goldfish are extremely resilient, but I could not believe that these little guys survived inside this water for over a year. Next, it's time to pull this tub out so I can clean it properly. There was a lot of mud caked in the bottom of it and it smelled just as bad as it looks. With the tub finally clean, I could reinstall it and take this time to level out the bottom. Next, it's time to use some landscape fabric. This is going to act as my weed barrier to keep weeds from coming back up. The wind started to pick up, so I'm going to use a couple rocks just to keep everything down. Now you want to cover every square inch of dirt with this landscape fabric and don't be scared of overlap. I'm going to tuck in the excess underneath the lip of the pool just to make sure nothing grows through. I took a quick trip to the hardware store and I picked up a couple supplies. I'm going to start with these plastic landscaping stakes. These are going to keep the landscape fabric in place so it doesn't move. Now it's time to lay down some ground cover. I'm going to use red mulch, white marble rocks, and black mulch. There's no particular reason for this, I just thought it might look pretty nice, and it did come out pretty good. Now initially I was wanting to do an all white and black ground cover to represent a yin and yang. However, the white marble rocks are very expensive, so I'm going to mix in some red mulch to save some money. And I'm going to lay the mulch down pretty thick. I want at least 2 to 3 inches of coverage. I picked up some slate rocks too, and I'm going to use that to cover up the lip of the pond. I did find out that these white marble rocks are a bit chalky, and when you step on them, they do leave footprints on the mulch. I'm going to add some more mulch and rocks just to make sure the ground is level with the slate. Now it's time to start adding some new plants and fill up the pond. Lesson learned here is that it would have been easier to plant the new plants before I would have put the mulch down. To transplant this fish, I'm just going to lower this bucket in gently and let the fish swim right into it. Next, I'm just going to let it go nice and easy inside the new pond. Now this project is almost done. So next I'm going to set these aquatic plants in the water, and this is going to give the fish some shade. I'm also going to install this water pump to keep the water circulating. Alright guys, so that's it for this project. This came out really nice and I'm really proud of this. The color scheme looks really good, and so far the fish are absolutely loving it. Now this is a 50-gallon pond, so I could only have about 4 or 5 goldfish in here, and I'm going to have 1 koi fish in here. Now some people did tell me that this might be too small for a koi fish, so I may be upgrading this to a 150, maybe even a 200-gallon pond next year. So stay tuned for that video. Thanks guys.